Tesla recalls nearly all vehicles sold in the US to fix a system that monitors drivers using autopilot. Tesla recalls US vehicles to fix autopilot. We just saw that. Oh, it's one of these video text over it. Okay, let's actually read the article itself. Detroit AP. Tesla is recalling nearly all vehicles sold in the US, more than 2 million, to update software and fix a defective system that's supposed to ensure drivers are paying attention when using autopilot. Documents posted Wednesday by US safety regulators say the update will increase warnings and alerts to drivers and even limit the areas where basic versions of autopilot can update or operate. Holy moly. The recall comes after a 2-year investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration into a series of crashes that happened while the autopilot partially automated driving system was in use. Some were deadly. Deadly crash? It's just articles talking about the crash itself. The agency says that its investigation found autopilot's method of making sure drivers are paying attention can be inadequate and can lead to foreseeable misuse of the system. Hi Ben, how's it doing? Welcome into the stream. How you doing today, my man? They added controls and alerts will further encourage the driver to adhere to their continuous driving responsibility, the document said. But safety experts said that while the recall is a good step, it still makes the driver responsible. It doesn't fix the underlying problem that Tesla's automated system have with spotting and stopping for obstacles in their path. The recall covers models Y, S, 3, and X produced between October 5th and December 7th. I love their naming scheme here. Y, S, 3, and X. I know, obviously, I think he had some plan with that. I can't remember. Ben says you finished writing the script for part 1 of your video. Now you're procrastinating recording the audio and editing. I think that's the hardest part about making most videos, is the recording and editing part. The more you can do in the recording phase, the less editing you got to do later on. Oof is indeed right. Welcome in, Culprit. How are you doing today? I got to do those walk-ons. Over the weekend, I didn't do my due diligence of setting up this with all of the extra chats and everything from there. So I do have to go through and double check and set that up again. Or I finish setting it up. It's part of the way built in. Welcome, welcome. Shares of Tesla slid more than 3% in earlier trading Wednesday, but recovered amid a broad stock market rally to end the day up 1%. The attempt to address the flaws in autopilot seemed like the case of too little too late to Dylan Angulo, who was seriously injured in a 2019 crash involving a Tesla that was using technology along the rural stretch of Florida highway where the software isn't supposed to be deployed. This technology is not safe. We have to get it off the road, Angulo said, who is suing Tesla as he recovers from injuries that included brain trauma and broken bones. The government has to do something about it. We can't be experimenting like this. I have a feeling, and having seen Musk talk about this stuff a lot, this guy was not using autopilot correctly. Not using it where he should, and he was probably sitting back with his hands on his phone or whatnot and got hit. Or hit something. Ben says you're just going to suck it up and try to finish the video before Saturday and schedule the video for the 25th. That's what video creation is, man. You just got to suck it up and go for it and do it, or else it is exceptionally difficult. Autopilot includes features called auto steer and traffic aware cruise control, with auto steer intended for use on limited access freeways when it's not operating with a more sophisticated feature called auto steer on city streets. The software update will limit where auto steer can be used. If the driver attempts to engage auto steer when conditions are not meant for engagement, this feature will alert the driver it is unavailable through visual and audible alerts. The auto steer will not engage, the recall document said. Depending on a Tesla hardware, Depending on a Tesla's hardware, the added controls included increased prominence of visual alerts, simplifying how auto steer is turned on and off. Additional checks on whether auto steer is being used outside of the controlled access roads and when it is approaching traffic control devices. A driver could be suspended from using autosteer if they repeatedly fail to demonstrate continuous and sustained driving responsibility, the document said. Can you imagine being locked out of your car because the car manufacturer said that you didn't use it properly? I think that's what this is coming to, and that's what it seemed like. A feature which I'm of two mindsets, because if it is a feature that's built into the car, that's one thing. If it is a cloud feature where they are interacting back and forth with Tesla's servers to do a lot of the driving, then I can totally see why Tesla might cut somebody off from that. But I think a lot of this stuff is actually built into the vehicle. According to recall documents, agency investigators met with Tesla starting in October to explain tentative conclusions about fixing the monitoring system. Tesla did not concur that the NHTSA's did not concur with the NHTSA's analysis, but agreed to recall on December 5th in an effort to resolve the investigation. Auto safety advocates for years have been calling for stronger regulation of the driver monitoring system, which mainly detects whether a driver's hands are on the steering wheel. They have called for cameras to make sure the driver is paying attention, which are used by other automakers with similar systems. This is very Big Brother. We're getting to it, and these people think that they bring in the systems under the guise of protection, which I'm under two mindsets. I do agree having to protect people is absolutely vital, but I don't know about this. Philip Koopman, a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon University, who studies autonomous vehicles safety, said the software update, a compromise that doesn't address a lack of night vision cameras to watch the driver's eyes, as well as Tesla's failing to spot and stop for obstacles. The compromise is disappointing because it does not fix the problem that older cars do not have adequate hardware for driver monitoring. They don't need adequate hardware for driver monitoring. This is Big Brother shit. This is we don't trust the people shit. Now I think this is going to actually flip over the next 10-15 years, because right now these companies are deliberately taking liable responsibility for all of the outcomes that their customers are developing.
Defeat.
Thanks, Monty. It is a big defeat. It's a defeat for the average human, that's for sure. I found this really weird when discussing to, I'm sure culprits still lurking, but discussing with like the crowd control guys in their software, where I don't even know if they understand. They want to take liability for everything. It's unbelievable. Now, Google recently has started to put a lot of location data inside the phone instead. What they've stopped doing, what Google has realized, and it's taken years, is that when they're storing all of the data, they're liable for that information. They are responsible for that information. So Google is stepping back and going, no, we don't want to have that responsibility anymore. We're getting whole-hogged, exactly. Google's stepping back, we don't want the responsibility anymore. But companies around the world still have this culture that their customers, once they sell the product, they're responsible for the customer's outcome. And honestly, I think this is it's like an elitist mentality, really is what it is. When you can have a whole bunch of people sit around and spend a few days talking about how other people that are not you are involved with your thing, and that people can sit around and basically just discuss, like, who has the fucking time to deal with this shit, right? So like that's really it. And the fact that someone go, yes, I am responsible for somebody else driving my car, or somebody can be so entitled to say, you're responsible for someone driving the car you sold them. I don't know. It's a crazy world. This liable responsibility thing, it does feel, and I'm going to point this out, it doesn't feel like American culture. This liability, this thing that companies are doing where they're taking all the liability, doesn't feel like an American culture thing to me, honestly. It feels like foundations that were applied by many dictatorial governments who then see the people as their responsibility, or the people are too stupid, where, I don't know, America seems to me like the mindset of the people have the right to kind of buy whatever they want as long as the information is honest and upfront. That's how you sue for fraud, right? That's where fraudulent lawsuits come from. So it's I'm sorry I stopped partway through this article. This does keep going, but this is so weird. It's a culture thing. It really is a cultural thing. And whenever I talk to people too, I've talked to business owners where they have this mindset where they're like, just so Monty knows, crowd control is actually software that allows you to interact with Culprit while he's playing. He's got a bunch of stuff like that. But whenever I talk to these companies, and they're like, "But we don't want our customers doing this. We don't want our customers doing this." And I'm at the dinner table with them. And I'm like, "But aren't you taking Are you taking liability for literally everything that your customer does?" It like shocks them. It's like a whole new world to them that they didn't even consider. The fact that their customers are not children and that they are not a babysitter. Like it's not their job to be a babysitter, but it blows their freaking minds. It absolutely blows their minds. Let's keep going here. Monty. I'll point out, even I know this is irrelevant to those who are watching in, but a lot of the video game, but the online space is becoming that too, where a lot of these companies, they're taking responsibility for the customers on the platform and not taking responsibility for the platform in any way. So they try to control the users as opposed to increasing the productivity or increasing the quality of their product, it's a culture thing. It's a generational culture thing. It absolutely is. Where is it? In a statement, yeah, okay. Autopilot can steer, accelerate, and brake automatically in its lane. And I want to point out too. Sorry, off to the side. We've like the old mantra of hard times build strong people build easy times. Easy times build weak people build hard times. That is true. That is so true. We are building a world right now for weak people, and we have weak people building weak people products, creating a real there's no self-responsibility anymore. I know this is quite of an offset of a rant, but it is exceptionally frustrating how there is no personal responsibility in our world anymore. Like I don't feel like it. You can take personal responsibility, but Autopilot can steer, accelerate, and brake automatically in its lane, but is a driver-assisted system and cannot drive itself despite its name. Independent tests have found the monitoring system is easy to fool, so much so that drivers have been caught while driving drunk or even in the back seat. It's in its defect report filed with the safety agency. This isn't a defect, though. This is weird. This is not a defect. It doesn't feel like it to me it's a defect. Tesla and Autopilot's controls may not be sufficient to prevent driver misuse. Well, if the driver is drunk or in the back seat, that has nothing to do with the vehicle. Like, absolutely nothing to do with the vehicle. A message was left early on Wednesday seeking further comment from the Austin, Texas company, which I imagine Musk is looking at this and going, are we a babysitting company? Is that what we are? Are we are we like a school bus where our job is to like drive children from one place to another? That is what he's thinking. But unfortunately, people who are in the courts seem to, because their life, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it too, but it feels like people in the court system, because their life literally is about dictating other people's worlds, they don't really think too much about like the larger responsibility of what's going on. I don't know how this is acceptable at all. Crazy to me. Tesla says on its website that Autopilot and more sophisticated full self-driving system are meant to help drivers to be ready to intervene at times. Full self-driving is being tested by Tesla owners on public roads. In a statement posted on Monday on X, formerly Twitter, Tesla said safety is stronger when Autopilot is engaged. The NHTSA has dispatched investigators to 35 Tesla crashes since 2016, in which the agency suspects the vehicle were running on the automated system. That's the driver's fault. I don't know how it's not the driver's fault. At least 17 people have been killed. The investigations are part of a larger probe by the NHTSA into multiple instances of Tesla using Autopilot crashing into emergency vehicles. The NHTSA has become more aggressive in pursuing safety problems with Tesla, including the recall of full self-driving software. In May, Transportation Secretary Pete, Buttigieg, whose department includes NHTSA, said Tesla shouldn't be calling the system Autopilot because it can't drive itself. Yes and no. Honestly, well, actually, no. I do kind of agree with this because a lot of products have to be labeled for the average person. You do have to like market like everybody's idiots, but I don't think the liability should at least be in Tesla's hands. Buy a vehicle, you are responsible for it. Simple as that. If you buy a product, you should be 100% responsible for that product, unless the product has a base failure that causes it to do something that is not what you purchased it